Sometimes all you want is to have your data in a table and everything else out of the way. Rill's metrics-first approach means that the same metrics you see in the KPIs and visualizations here are also available as a pivot table, letting you quickly summarize the data. We'll cover off the key features over a few videos and start by showing you how to get to the pivot table from the main Explorer interface. There's two ways to get started. The pivot tab at the top right here switches between the main panel from the Explore surface to the pivot table surface. Notice that the filters, in other words everything above the main panel, stays the same. If I add the filter field into the table, so we're filtering on advertiser name, you can see that the values there are being filtered just as it was on the leaderboards. And the pivot table does remember its previous state. So now as I switch back and forth between the Explore and the pivot table is remembering that the advertiser name field was selected. The second way to the pivot table is to click the Start Pivot button that you'll find at the top of the KPIs inside the main panel. And you'll also find it in the drill down view. If you have a dimension comparison selected there, you'll see the Start Pivot option there. But let me just go back to the main interface. So from here, if I have a range of measures, I've got 4 measures selected here. I have a time filter, including a time grain. And if I click on the Start Pivot button, that time grain and those measure fields are brought through into the pivot table view. So clicking the Start Pivot button within the main panel is also going to update the selection of fields, which on the pivot table is also made within the main panel. And what is above the main panel, which is the time picker and the filter values, those stay the same as I switch back and forth between one and the other. In the next video, we'll talk about working with the rows and columns to do groupings, subtotals, and hierarchies.